There's a lot going on in our world right now. They're voting on the big, beautiful bill, not to mention that a young black man in Alabama was killed by the police. And what's going on with our black media, folks? Just have one question for you. You woke? Time to get up. Hello and welcome to Thought You're Woke, No Speed Limit Podcast. I am your host, Alvin. I hope you guys are having a terrific day. I just want you to do one thing for me right now. I want you to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And guess what, guys? I got a lot to talk about. Guess what just happened while I was sitting here putting this together? The P. Diddy sentencing came back. He is guilty on 3 counts. Most of those are having to deal with sexual trafficking. The one major count that he is not guilty of, and I don't mind telling y'all about that right now, is that he is not guilty of, that's right, racketeering. So he didn't get a guilty plea on the racketeering. That one, he was found innocent on that charge. So, but he does have 3 charges he was found guilty on. I'll give you more details about that as I get more details on that particular case. Now, there are some other things that I wanted to talk about today. I want to concentrate on the big issues, but also want to concentrate on something that deals with us, okay? So the first thing I want to deal with is something that's happening locally, right here where I live, here in Birmingham, Alabama. A young man by the name of Jabari Latrell Peoples was recently shot by the Homewood police. Monday night, 9 p.m. on June 23rd, Jabari Latrell Peoples and his girlfriend were parked in the Homewood, Alabama parking lot at a soccer field. And as yet unidentified police officer approached the vehicle. The officer claimed that he smelled marijuana coming from the vehicle and asked the driver, Jabari Peoples, to step out of the car and show him identification. When Jabari stepped out of the car, the officer claimed that he saw a gun in the door of the vehicle. The officer said he then approached Mr. Peoples to take him into custody for the possession of marijuana. So let me explain 2 things here. So one, this is a first offense, and it's probably personal use marijuana if he had marijuana at all. So what does that mean? That means that's either 1 year in jail or up to a $7,000 fine, from what I understand. So basically, that's like a level of a ticket. As far as the gun on the door is, you're in Alabama, you're allowed to carry a gun without a permit, concealed or unconcealed. The officer claims that it was at this time that Mr. Peoples began to resist. A struggle ensued, and the officer claimed he was knocked to the ground. Mr. Peoples, according to the officer, then proceeded to grab the handgun from the driver's side of the vehicle, creating a threat to the officer. The officer, fearing for his safety, fired 1 round, according to Homewood police, shooting Mr. Peoples, who then fell to the ground. According to the Homewood Police Department, the officer gave several commands to Jabari, who was now fatally wounded, to let go of the gun. The passenger was the only other witness known to be on the scene. The family attorney says that an eyewitness said that Jabari did not have a gun and did not struggle with the officer. The family has asked to see the body cam footage. Aaliyah is investigating the crime and currently has possession of the video footage, according to Homewood Police Department. Now, let me give you a few more details on that. There has been some recent developments on that. Now, the family this week held a memorial. Now, I live in the Birmingham area, so let me explain how Homewood is considered a suburb of Birmingham. It's kind of like if you lived in New York City and you lived, say, in New York, New Jersey, or somewhere like that. Homewood is that. Homewood, Hoover, and Vestavia are 3 of the largest suburbs of Birmingham. It's a middle-class area, nice homes. Minimum housing is like $300,000 a year. So it's a lot different than Birmingham, where you have people with lower incomes and the minimum house is like $100,000 to $200,000 a year. So it's right there on the border of Birmingham, but it's on the southern half of Birmingham. It's nice, like I said, again, a very nice city. Sleepy town, because after 9 o'clock, there's nothing going on in Homewood unless you're at the Waffle House or maybe you're at one of the restaurants. there's not very much going on after 9 o'clock in Homewood. I can attest to this. And again, like I said, it's the suburbs. Now, Homewood itself has had some troubles. And as far as the issue goes with the body cam footage, let me show you this video right here.
Denying the family's request to see the body cam footage of their 18-year-old son, Jabari Peoples' fatal encounter with law enforcement.
A Homewood police officer shot and killed Peoples at the Homewood soccer complex. Police says showing the video would affect their ongoing investigation, adding, in accordance with state law and in the interest of protecting the constitutional rights of everyone involved, as well as prioritizing a thorough law enforcement investigation of the reported subject matter, Aaliyah respectfully declined to make the requested disclosure. Now, 6 on your side, breaking news reports.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The police have denied the family of Latrell Peoples, of Jabari Latrell Peoples. They have denied them to see the video. They claim that it's in order, just in case there's a jury trial. If there really was, as Homewood says, this was a clear-cut case of a police officer firing in self-defense, then why are we withholding videotape to say, well, in case that there's a jury trial? And they're still under investigation, I get it, but that means that the video is showing that this case is not as clear cut as what we think it is. And maybe what the eyewitness said was true. Who knows? Like I said, we have nothing here unless we get the body cam footage. We don't know what's going on. But as usual with the state of Alabama, we don't release video. Now, I will tell you this about Homewood. This is not the first time that Homewood has been caught in controversy. Back in 2015, Kendra Darnell Chapman committed suicide while being unsupervised in the Homewood City Jail. Her death sparked controversy and investigation into Homewood City Jail procedures. The family of Miss Chapman believes she committed suicide but had many questions. Homewood released a video that clearly shows the young lady taking her own life. So in that case, she took her own life, but there was controversy simply because she was unsupervised in the jail. So this, like I said, this isn't the first go around, but they did release a videotape in that case. Homewood claims that they wanted to release the videotape about this shooting, but they said that Aaliyah had control of it and they don't have possession of it, therefore they don't. Aaliyah is going by what state law requires. It says that they can release the video or they can choose to withhold. In this case, they have chosen to withhold the video for whatever reason, I guess because the investigation is still ongoing. All I can say about this is what I know about Homewood. Homewood is one of those places where, you know, you hear about speed traps, right? Homewood has several. They have a guy on a motorcycle bike. They have folks on the freeway. They have police at every entrance into the city, whether you're coming from Vestavia or Hoover, or whether you're coming from Birmingham. It doesn't matter which direction you're coming in. Homewood has police. Their police presence is there. Now, according to the police about this particular situation with the park, they claim they have had increased crimes in their parks in recent years, and I guess marijuana smoking is one of those. Now, this is like I said earlier, my understanding of the law, based on what I have read, is that for a first offense, it's not a felony. It can be up to 1 year in jail and up to a $7,000 fine. Usually, most judges kind of throw that down the hall, and you get a light sentence. Maybe you'll have to go to AA or do some kind of community service, those kind of things. That's why I feel like it was not one of those things where you're making a major arrest. You're throwing a guy in jail. Of course, the city of Homewood doesn't have the problems that Birmingham have. It could. They don't have the number of murders or violent crimes that happen. I'm sure there's domestic abuse and other things, situations that happen in Homewood, but they don't have the number of crimes. So little petty crimes like marijuana become the things that you lock up and you tie up the system with, when you could just easily give the guy a ticket. And here's the thing, I'm assuming that there was marijuana there. That's assuming that that's what was going on, that marijuana was really what's going on. We don't really know what was going on with this situation other than what Homewood is telling us right now, because again, we do not have the video cam footage. My plea is out to Steve Marshall. He is the Attorney General of Alabama. I know he's very MAGA, I will say that, but he is still the Attorney General. He has law that he has to practice and things that he has to do. He has released video cam footage in 2 cases in order to help the police department. One was when the young man died at the Galleria here, was shot and killed by the Hoover police. They released that video to show that he was running away and he did have a gun at the time. And again, they recently placed charges against Hansville Police Department for 5 officers involved in the death of one of their fellow officers and tampering with evidence. So there's a huge case there. We also have in Walker County, right up the road here from Birmingham, is the case where the sheriff has been arrested and indicted on charges of supposedly, allegedly, hiring police officers who were not certified. Sheriff's deputies that were not certified. So we have all this stuff going on in Alabama. Alabama has some issues with its police. At the same time, cities like Birmingham, Mobile, Montgomery, all of them, they have high crime problems. They need police officers. You need qualified police officers. When you hire someone, you can say, well, you never know how this is going to turn out. And that's true. You don't know. You can have a very good officer that just turns out like they don't like the situation and they leave the police department. Or you have a very bad officer who seems like he's a great officer and then he does something like this. And I'm not saying that this is a bad officer. I don't know yet. We need to get all the full details. Again, according to Jabari's parents, he was a model kid. He had finished high school. He's working as a security guard at DCH Medical in, I believe, Tuscaloosa. He's from the Aliceville area, so most likely it was Tuscaloosa. Now, let me explain something. Aliceville is like 45 minutes away from Birmingham. It's west of Tuscaloosa. And a lot of people are like, why would he be in Birmingham? Well, why not? You know, maybe his girlfriend was going to school here. I don't know. Maybe they decided to visit. Hey, everybody has a right to do what they want. There's a lot of questions here that still have not been answered. But as usual...
Mr. President, the Senator from North Carolina. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I come today to explain my vote yesterday for voting against the motion to proceed on this bill. Mr. President, I spent most of my career in management consulting, managing large, complex enterprise projects, multi-year, thousands of hours, a lot of complexity that take people, process, and technology to make it work. I learned a lot in that career. And I was able to go to the legislature and take that mindset as a member of the minority for 2 terms. And then we got a majority in 2010. And I found myself being the Speaker of the House. Mr. President, we were in the middle of the financial crisis. When I got sworn in January of 2011, North Carolina had a $2 billion shortfall on a $20 billion general revenue fund. And I had 6 months to balance that budget. Well, Mr. President, we did something that had not been done in North Carolina. We took the time to understand every aspect and every dollar that was being spent in government. We determined how to cut government in a way that was sustainable. We cut 12% from the university system budget. Not the rate of growth, but the actual spending. And I had some people say that it was going to be disruptive and the University of North Carolina would never be the same again. But Mr. President, we did it in a way that was instructed by the operations of the university system. And we did it in a way in concert with the chancellors. And you know what happened, Mr. President? We actually balanced the budget. We did do those cuts. And the last time I checked, the North Carolina university system is still considered one of the greatest systems in the United States of America. Why do I use that example? Because the Medicaid proposal in this bill bears no resemblance to that kind of discipline and due diligence. It has no insights into how these provider tax cuts are going to be absorbed without harming people on Medicare. And even worse, most of my colleagues do not even understand, on either side of the aisle, the interplay of state-directed payments and the devastating consequences of the funding flows that are going to be before us. Mr. President, here's how I figured out the impact of...
Something I said earlier, I said that they passed a big, beautiful bill. That was yesterday. That was the Senate. They passed a big, beautiful bill. It now moves on back to the House. Here's the terrible thing about the bill. Tom Tillis basically said it all. I'm not a fan of Tom Tillis. He's a Republican. I'm not a fan of a lot of the things that they do. But on this thing, he is correct. This bill is awful. It doesn't really cut any money because it came from the House with a $2.3 trillion budget, which is terrible as it is. Had all these cuts from Medicaid, Medicare, and all these things. This gets to the freaking Senate. It balloons up to $3.2 trillion. And the Alaskan senator, the lady from Alaska, the senator from Alaska, at first was against the bill, but then they made a whole bunch of promises to her that this wouldn't affect her in her state. Yeah. They made big promises to her to make sure that the big, beautiful bill would not affect her in her state. So what's happened is they put that proposal in there and they got her to vote. So guess what the final vote was? 50-50. Remember, there's only 47 Democrats in the Senate. 47 Democrats. Not one of those Democrats voted for this bill. 3 Republicans, including Mr. Tillis, and I believe it was Ron Paul and one other, that voted against this bill. Everybody else voted for the bill. They voted for this mess. And then J.D. Vance, Vice President, stepped in and gave the 51st vote. So now this is what we're looking at. We're looking at tax cuts to Medicaid. We're looking at cuts to food stamps. We're looking at tax breaks that could literally give people like in Oklahoma, or, the guys who drill oil in Oklahoma and guys who drill oil in Texas, 0 taxes to have to pay, because that is on top of the tax cuts they've already got. So they don't have to pay any taxes. So I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to be Mamdani up there in New York. We'll talk about him in a minute. I won't be mad at what he's doing, because these guys are giving all those wealthy guys big breaks. And I said something today on my TikTok, and I meant exactly what I said. People need to start asking for raises, because your boss got the money now. He got a big old tax break. He's like, his company, we're talking about corporate taxes being cut. His company now has the bread. Now, if they shut down factories and putting you out of work because of AI, guess what? You can give me some of that money. You gonna pay me more for what I do, because I work my butt off. You gonna give me more money. That's gonna be my new theme as far as that goes. And I don't want to get into talking about this too much. Again, we're adding $3 trillion of debt to the account. Biden, when he was in office, they complained about his $1 trillion. Ain't nothing compared to this. We're cutting all this money. Then we're giving the military $1 trillion for what? To go fight wars in Greenland or down there in the Panama Canal, or build the Golden Dome. That's what he wants to do. Big missile defense. Great. Do that. That's awesome. And also to keep troops in places like Syria and Iraq so Israel will be happy, right? And people get mad at me about that. And we can't solve any of these other problems. We keep pouring money into Israel, and we got that war in Ukraine that probably could have been solved on the Biden administration, but wasn't. So we're going to keep pouring money into that and pouring money into these things, and we're pouring money into this right here, and we're not fixing the problems for real. What we're going to do is we're going to put 11 million people in America off of Medicaid, and that means there'll be 11 people without insurance who have to pay the exorbitant fees, because we didn't fix that. No, we didn't fix that. And you know how we're fixing prices? We're forcing the companies to match the same prices they have in Europe. The Europeans are going to say, we ain't paying the high prices for that. It's that, or you get shut down or taxed, or whatever Donald Trump plans on doing with that. He's not really fixing a problem here in the United States. Whereas Biden had fixed the problem. You can get that, instead of paying $200, $300 for diabetic medicines, your parents were able to go and get their medicines for $40, $20. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think anything was wrong with that, but they have a problem with that. So even this guy, Tom Tillis, would have a problem with that. But he had a problem with this budget because he realized $3 trillion in debt. We're finna add $3 more trillion to the debt. We're not fixing it. Republicans always talk about that the Democrats spend too much money. What the heck are the Republicans spending money and giving these guys tax breaks? Oh, that's going to help the economy. People are saying in the short term it helps. In the long term, that's more inflation and just a financial crisis, because the debt ceiling has just risen up, of course, but the American dollar is falling off. In short term, it means they're going to invest in this country and do all that. Amazon just today said they have just about as many AI workers. That means AI, not physical employees, but machines and robots running in their warehouses and their stores as people. In fact, Amazon runs a complete store with no people in it. All you got to do is swipe your card, go through the door, buy what you want, and come out. They run those type of stores. This is the kind of garbage that we are looking at today. Yet these folks want to give the big billionaires bigger tax breaks so they can put more of us out of work while we suffer on we got tax on tips. You got them for 4 years, or 3 or 4 years, however long Donald Trump's in office, then they're out. So then here comes the next guy come along. He's got to bring those taxes back. And, so, we didn't cut Medicare and Medicaid. You know why? You put the burden on the states who are already cutting taxes. 22 of the states, especially Alabama, especially Florida, Texas, especially places like Louisiana and Arkansas and Mississippi that don't have any money already to cut taxes all the time and don't care about their poor people because they're stealing from the TANF funds. Mississippi. Yeah. That is going to become more of what you're going to see. So poor people here, 11 million hurt. AID is gone. So that's 40 million people supposedly that will die over the next 10 years because of AID being left. I guess that was so they could reduce the population of Africa and Asia and places like that. Oh, we can't have those black and brown people outnumber us in the world. But I digress. This is just how I feel about the big, beautiful mess. It's not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, beautiful mess. Ask Elon Musk. He doesn't even like the bill, and the only reason he doesn't is because, guess what? Everything that deals with the Green New Deal, as they used to call it, or in other words, the clean energy bill that Biden put in there, is gone. Pretty much gone. Like, we're taking away all those incentives because we need more gas. Not everybody wants to drive a electric car. There are places in Europe now where there are all practically no gas cars at all. The Chinese are building these cars left and right because they know the United States is falling behind in the electric car industry. They're winning that game. You are not helping with what you're doing with this big, beautiful bill, Republicans. You're not helping at all. But Democrats, hey, there's only so much they can do, and they really aren't doing anything. Speaking of the Democrats, I need to get to that next.
We made history. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it.
In a somewhat surprising victory, Zoran Mamdani, Ugandan-born Muslim man and naturalized citizen, has won the Democratic Party nomination for mayor of New York City over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Mamdani will now face current Mayor Eric Adams and possibly Andrew Cuomo, both running as independents. Curtis Silva, a Republican, will also face Mamdani in the city's race for mayor. Mamdani, who is a Democratic socialist, has set forth several priorities for his run as mayor, including free buses, minimum wage increases of up to $30 an hour, that's a good one, rental rate freeze, and tax increase on New York corporations.
Mamdani won a big victory. Have you endorsed him yet? I have not. We had a conversation on Wednesday morning where I congratulated him on the campaign that he ran, a campaign that clearly was relentlessly focused on the high cost of living in New York City and the economy. He outworked, he out-communicated, and he out-organized the opposition, and that's clearly why he was successful.
So what's holding you back from endorsing him right now?
Well, we don't really know each other well. Our districts don't overlap. I have never had a substantive conversation with him. And so that's the next step in terms of this process, to be able to sit down, which we agreed to do in central Brooklyn, discuss his vision for moving the city forward and addressing issues that are important to the communities that I represent, a very diverse district that I represent in Brooklyn, including many African Americans, many Jewish Americans, many Caribbean Americans who are dealing with a lot of challenges in the city and want to make sure that the next mayor of the city of New York, whoever that may be, is prepared to tackle.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our wonderful speaker, future Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries of the Democratic Party, who says he doesn't know who Mamdani is, but he still has a lot more to say.
Mamdani calls himself a democratic socialist. He proposed, obviously, big tax increases, free mass transit, free bus fares, government-run grocery stores. Is this the kind of progressive socialism that we're going to see as the future of the Democratic Party, or is this unique to New York City?
I think that one of the things we've been clear about from the very beginning as House Democrats is that we need to relentlessly focus on addressing the high cost of living in the United States of America. This country is far too expensive for working class Americans, for middle class Americans, for all those who aspire to be part of the middle class. Imagine a country where every single hardworking American taxpayer can afford to live the good life, work hard, play by the rules, have a good paying job, good health care, be able to afford a home, educate your children, go on vacation every now and then, and one day retire with grace and dignity. The good life, the American dream. that is not accessible to everyone. And so I think it will continue to be important for all of us on the Democratic side to address relentlessly the issue of the lack of affordability in this country. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down. They're going up. In fact, the guy is crashing the economy in real time, imposing these reckless Trump tariffs that are going to increase costs by thousands of dollars a year. And he may even drive us toward a recession.
You mentioned the diversity
Well,
of your
I can
district, including
actually
a lot
agree
of
with Hakeem Jeffries on that part, but then he said
increase costs
this.
by thousands of dollars a year. And he may even drive us toward a recession.
You mentioned the diversity of your district, including a lot of Jewish constituents. Mamdani has made comments that some have said veer towards anti-Semitism. His initial statement after October 7th, he criticized the Israeli government but didn't criticize Hamas. He defended the use of the word globalize, or the phrase globalized intifada, and he even said that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu should be arrested. Or he would, if he were mayor, he would arrest Netanyahu if he visited New York City. Do these things concern you?
Globalizing the intifada, by way of example, is not an acceptable phrase, and he's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. With respect to the Jewish communities that I represent, I think our nominee is going to have to convince folks that he is prepared to aggressively address the rise in anti-Semitism in the city of New York, which has been an unacceptable development. And any mayor, whether you're a Democratic mayor, Republican mayor, an independent mayor, has got to commit to the safety and well-being of all of the people of the city of New York. And when there are moments of crisis and a rise in anti-Jewish hate, that's a threshold that, of course, needs to be crossed. With respect to the African-American and Caribbean-American communities that I represent, it's going to be important for our nominee to articulate the case for dramatically and decisively addressing the rise in gentrification and the housing displacement that threatens to continue to wipe out low and moderate income Black and Latino communities in New York City. It's an unacceptable phenomenon, and the next mayor of the city of New York has to be able to articulate a clear plan and commitment to address these concerns for the people that I represent and folks all across.
Well, for the most part, so
New
far
York.
so good. The only issue I have with any of that was this word antifada. I looked it up. It means rebellion. It means to resist. Antifada is a Arab word. I don't think he could replace the word that he's saying with anything else. They're resisting what's going on in the West Bank, what's going on in Gaza. They're resisting what's going on because there are settlements been going up now in the West Bank where Palestinians live, and they're being pushed off of their land. Meanwhile, in Gaza, they're being bombed indiscriminately by the IDF, or Israeli Defense Force, based on what happened last year in October. Because there's still hostages there, but bombing indiscriminately and killing people in their residence or while they're trying to get food, that's not good. So they're upset with Mamdani for saying that, antifada is not a word that he's going to take out of his vocabulary. It's resistance against what's happening to his people. I have no problem with that. Now, he's not the only person that had something to say, though.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call and question. I want to ask two very pertinent questions about the threat facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zora Mamdani. There was a bill that I was reading about that, unfortunately, he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magen David Adom, which is like the Jewish Red Cross. So how do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his revisionist Holocaust knowledge, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats? He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know, I can't fact check everything in real time, but do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt the synagogues? I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to shrink from information that's true.
Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you get that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with him when he gets elected, if he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. I also, on a federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I received a letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state. And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this is just an issue that I will work with him on for sure.
I just feel compelled to say, we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting.
So if you want to talk about a bot, literally some human being who is a plant, this person that made this phone call, first of all, that uh, Kristen Brand was listening to, or responded to, talking about this is the kind of questions my Jewish constituents have in New York City, right? Um, the guy is basically on the phone. He has a script. Most of his information is false. That's on that, especially that stuff about jihad, and him supporting Antifada. He supports it. He says he's okay with the word Antifada because it means resistance in Arabic. But he doesn't necessarily support jihad. Never has. This person, he supports violent jihad against Israel. He believes in the distinguishment of Jews and all of this, the Holocaust. And as Brian Lear, the person who's doing the show, decided to, he said, none of this is true. He says, we fact checked this and couldn't find out that any of this was true. And based on what I know so far about Mamdani and my research, none of that is true. There may be some questions about how he goes about protesting and stuff like that, but for the most part, the man is not a violent man. And Kristen Gillibrand's answer to this has not gotten her in a whole lot of hot water. And of course, she recently apologized for what she said. You based what you said on what this caller said. It's sad to see how politicians act. She was so unattached, she didn't pay attention. It's like, I'm just going to respond to you. I'm going to agree with you because you're a caller calling, you're a concerned voter. That's dangerous. But at the same time, I want to say this about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has a problem with Democratic Socialists. This is the same party, Chuck Schumer, all of them. Because Chuck Schumer is definitely guilty. He was the one who was responsible for not getting the $15 minimum wage the first time around, right? Parliamentarian said he couldn't put it in the bill, so he didn't put it in the budget bill, budget reconciliation bill at the time. And next time it came around, when any other opportunity came to put it out there, he didn't do it at all. He even could have ignored the parliamentarian, but he didn't do it. George Floyd bill, same thing. Did pass. Chuck Schumer was there. Chuck Schumer didn't do his job either. I'm not going to blame Hakeem Jeffries like that. At that time, he was a minor player when all this stuff came out. But watching the Democrats walk all over themselves, it leads me to this area I want to talk about because Democrats are struggling right now. They're really struggling to find their way. You got people like Bill Maher and Henry Cavill talking about we need to get rid of identity politics, you know what I'm saying? The Palestinian movement, black people talking about their rights, reparations, and things like that. He has a problem with that. Though there's a certain group that has a problem with that. There's another group that wants us to become more like the old-fashioned Republicans. They're out there campaigning day and night to make us the next neocons, and that's a problem too. Meanwhile, we're sitting here with issues that people are listening to. People are rallying with Bernie Sanders and AOC. AOC won in districts where Donald Trump also won. Mamdani also got popularity in districts where Donald Trump won. So what does this say to the Democrats? You need to look this direction. I don't know where y'all trying to go with what y'all trying to do. It's the wrong direction, and it won't get you to another election. There's nothing wrong with Harris, but you wouldn't let Harris be Harris. You want her to be whatever this version of Democrat that you guys claim that you are. I'm kind of scared of what I'm seeing, really, in the Democratic Party, and that's why I'm going to go to this next video.
He reposted a clip of Tesla Figueroa on Jesse Waters' show, right? And she was saying that the Democratic Party should be using the tone that Jasmine Crockett does. She sticks it right to Trump and then Republicans. Do you feel like Jasmine Crockett should be the leading voice of the party?
Yes, and the thing is, what the Democrats do to me wrong is that they prioritize whose turn it is. Like, Democrats are very orderly. They're almost too orderly for fascism. In fascism, you can't be orderly because the other side is messy. And Donald Trump stays messy. Everything he does is random, but it also exudes power. It just says, I have so much power.
Okay, so I want to stop here for a second. This is Joy Reid. I respect her. She's a respected journalist to me. I love her point of view on a lot of things, and so I respect her point of view on this. But here's the problem with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has actually been messed up for a long time. Sure, Nancy Pelosi ran the House. Chuck Schumer got to run the Senate. Hadn't done a great job of it, but he got to run the Senate for a little while. Here's my problem. When Obama came along, that was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's turn. He messed the game up right then and there. Because when he came to office, he changed the Democratic Party. He was a powerful president for the Democratic Party. He won that, and then he stayed in office for 2 terms. Clinton was stuck in the background, so then her turn came in 2016. By then, people didn't want Hillary Clinton. They didn't want that version of the Democratic Party anymore. They wanted more of what they thought Obama could be, right? And then a lot of them turned toward Bernie. Now, a lot of black folks didn't understand how to deal with Bernie. And here's a phenomenon in the Democratic Party they need to understand, that white supremacy is a problem in both parties. I keep telling people this all the time, that white supremacy party. That's why, like I told you earlier about Bill Maher and Henry Cavill and people like that who are the old heads in the Democratic Party talking about we need to get rid of identity politics. But at the same time, we're still controlled by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, old heads in the Democratic Party. And the party's starting to look blacker and browner, and yes, more educated, but at the same time, we should be working for the working people. That's why this Mamdani, up there in New York, is winning big. Because he got a coalition of people highly educated. He got black people on the side, he got Muslim people on the side, he's got he's got Israeli people on the side, he's got Jewish people on the side, he's got Hispanic people on the side. He's a coalition of people. And that's what it is, the Democratic Party. But the Democrats are losing out because the Democratic Party is too busy trying to rebrand itself to attract the Liz Cheney types. And I have a problem with that. You know, there's a lot of them hanging around and a lot of them making noise right now on podcasts. I like the Bulwark. And I get it. He's no longer a Republican, but he's a conservative, right? He would come back over to the Republican Party. The Republican Party would have those guys over there, right? The Bulwark. Let me explain something. They're still Republican. They're just posing as Democrats right now. For me, I got to be honest with you. They don't have the Democratic values that I have. Meanwhile, they're shutting out voices. They don't want the Jasmine Crockett's. They don't want the AOCs. Bernie's getting old, but AOC is still there. Ilhan Omar or Ayanna Pressley. They got rid of Corey. She was a good voice, but the AIPAC and the Democrats got together and they wanted to push her out. They found a way to push her out. They wanted to tell the progressive wing, they want to tell them something, right? The squad. They wanted to break up the squad. But here is Joy Reid telling you the truth about the Democratic Party, how they have this order that you're supposed to follow, and the order's been out of sorts for so long, and they didn't know what to do. When we got to let Biden win. Biden needs to. Biden's too old. What do we do now? Because we don't have a line of succession. Harris. Let's just throw Harris in there. And this is no offense to Harris. Like I said, Harris could be Harris because of what they did. Now here they are right now trying to gain control of this situation with Mamdani, and it's out of control for them. They can't be who they are. They got their corporate buddies just like the Republican Party. They got their white supremacist ways. Even if you got black faces like Hakeem Jeffries up there, you still have a problem in the Democratic Party that it needs to fix. It has to be able to team up with a guy like Mamdani. It has to see why people want to vote for somebody like him, because he's doing something for the people. He's not doing like the big beautiful bill over here, making them all these tax cuts for the wealthy and hurting people on the back end on Medicaid and food stamps. He's not doing that. He's talking about helping people. He's raising the minimum wage, something that has not been done since 2002, 2012, 2002. You guys have not raised the minimum wage. The Democratic Party has failed their constituents. Let's talk about that. They have literally failed their constituents. And so I'm just going to go on what Joy Reid is talking about right here.
It also exudes power. It just says, I have so much power that I don't care about the rules. And I think for ordinary people who are not political, who don't pay attention, to them, that just says that he gets things done. Yeah. And so they'll even look past some of the horrible things he gets done to say that he's effective. Because he doesn't say, I don't have 60 votes. I can't do that. That's what Democrats say. He doesn't say, I do it, but it has to get out of committee in the House. What Democrats say. And Democrats say, AOC, we like her. We support her. We think she's great. But we have this other person that needs to be the chairman of this committee because they've waited in the wings and now it is their turn. The person who was picked over AOC has now passed away. That's what Democrats do, right? And in the case of Jasmine Crockett, a rational party facing actual fascism would say, who are our most effective voices? Who do the people listen to? Who do the people trust? Who do the people want to hear from? If it's Jasmine Crockett, we don't care who's in line. Right. She's about to be the leader. We're going to put her as the head of whatever this committee is, make her the head of oversight, and put her on TV every day. But that isn't what Democrats do because they're orderly. And orderly is insufficient in the face of fascism.
And I'm glad you said that because it's like, even with position, I don't care that.
Her network dropped her. She was a powerful voice. She was freedom. Like she said, part of the reason why they dropped her, and I didn't play that part here, is because she had her own podcast, she had her own thing, she had her place to make her own voice. But I think what she said is about to say now is probably the most important thing that Democrats need to listen to. Listen to this.
Your position is.
Right. I just think the Democratic Party, and, you know, look, I've been a Democrat since I was old enough to vote, you know, but I'm barely hanging on, honestly. Because at this point, the party is not bigger than the future of my kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I have 3 children. I have, you know, a daughter and 2 sons that have to live in this country as Black people. And fascism don't work for me, you know, and I'm not willing to cede the country to Trumpism and MAGA simply because I'm clinging to this party, you know. So people getting all mad at Karine Jean-Pierre for saying she's, but I'm not mad at that because I'm like, at this point, it isn't, who cares what the party label is? Give me an effective fighter. If Jasmine Crockett is the most effective fighter, give me Jasmine Crockett. And I really don't care what you have to move around or who you have to disappoint in order to give me her. Just give me her because we need a leader.
I guess my problem with what Karine Jean-Pierre said.
I don't think I need to say anything else pretty much on that particular topic because Joy Reid said it all. You know, I'm not ready to allow fascism to take over the country, and if we have ineffective leadership that doesn't know, that's hemming and hawing, barely speaking, like Hakeem Jeffries, I don't even know he exists. Can I be honest with you? That's how I feel about it. I can't tell he's there. I can't tell if he's breathing or not half the time. So that's a problem right now. Democrats need an effective leader. If Jasmine Crockett is effective, AOC is effective, if Ilhan Omar or like I said, Ayanna Pressley or any of those folks are effective, those are the leadership we need. If Mamdani is effective, that's who we need as far as leadership. Now, let me move on to the media. There's a lot of people in the media I respect, but lately there's some things I don't respect, and I want to let you hear a few of those right now.
Let's get to the NAACP in 2 headlines linked to the Civil Rights Organization. The first involves President Donald Trump. The organization announced they will not invite the president to their national convention next month in Charlotte, North Carolina. This would mark the first time the NAACP has opted to exclude a sitting president in its 116-year history. NAACP President Derek Johnson announced the move during a press conference, accusing Trump of working against its mission. Here's a portion of what Johnson had to say. Quote, "This has nothing to do with political party. Our mission is to advance civil rights, and the current president has made clear that his mission is to eliminate civil rights," end quote. The NAACP has filed multiple lawsuits against Trump in the last few months, including suing to stop the Department of Education from withholding federal money for schools that did not end DEI programs, arguing the department was prohibiting legal efforts to provide equal opportunity to Black students. First things first, respect to Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't agree, respectfully. I don't agree that this was the right decision to make. Number one, let's stop associating DEI with Black people. When you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we all know that the biggest beneficiaries of DEI has been white women. And we all know that folks associate DEI with individuals who weren't qualified but were just giving an opportunity so a place could be diverse. And that's not what I would classify us as, and I'm certain that you wouldn't either, Mr. Johnson. So that's number one. Number two.
So this is the same guy who had something to say about Mamdani. I'll talk about that in a minute. But he just misdefined what DEI means. And we know that that's not us. That's not us. He said what he said was that DEI is about people, unqualified individuals, getting an opportunity to do something based on their race. That's not what DEI is. We all know that's what DEI is not. So first of all, he says we need to get off of DEI. Yo, bruh, maybe you ain't paying attention to what's really going on. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, like Harvard University. Ketanji Brown, she got into Harvard University because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It wasn't because she didn't deserve to be there. She was a well-qualified individual, but she was in a place where she probably would not have been totally ignored by Harvard University. That is what diversity, equity, and inclusion does. It goes to the places where people who would hardly get an opportunity add an opportunity like Harvard University because of how the system has worked. The good old boy network, the fact that a lot of legacy students went to that school, they wouldn't have gotten an opportunity. So this is where I began to disagree with Stephen A. Smith because he doesn't know what diversity, equity, and inclusion is according to his definition. But let's go on and listen to the
that's
rest.
number one. Number two, here's where my reticence really, really comes in. Why not let the 47th president of the United States come and address the NAACP convention? Why not give Donald Trump a chance to sit before your audience, your constituents, and explain exactly what he's doing and why? Why not let him do that? Why not let him stand before the very people whose lives he's purported to have had a profound effect upon with some of his decisions and let him explain what is it that he's doing and why? When we talk about the Department of Education, again, we all understand that our students need all the help that we can get, especially in the public schools. There's no question about that. Federal funding is essential, and we understand that. But at some point in time, don't we have an obligation to look at exactly what the Education Department has done and whether or not it has served to benefit our community, as in the Black community, along with various communities throughout this country, the United States of America? Do we just write a check and automatically give it to people, taxpayer dollars to people, without deciphering how well they do their jobs? Are we not allowed to probe and to look at them and to say, what exactly are you doing with the American dollars, with the taxpayer dollars from the American citizens? I don't know the answer. I'm not proclaiming to know the answer. I'm simply saying I want to hear if the president is taking this strong position and he's campaigned on eradicating the Department of Education for years. Why does he feel that way? What evidence does he have to validate his assertions? And if indeed there is profound evidence to support such a position, who are those that are supporting it? We need to ask those questions. And I think that standing before members of the NAACP at your very own convention, I think that would serve well to invite him and let him come before you all and try to explain what he's doing. So you'll have him on the record, not just sound bites that airs on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or ABC, CBS, NBC or whatever. No, let him sit before you and explain and defend his position. Most importantly, you can try to ignore.
I don't know how I can remind Stephen A. Smith of what happened during the campaign season when Donald Trump went to the Association of National Black Journalists. I don't know if he remembers that or not, what happened at that particular event. But, you know, he attacked not only the person on stage, then he turned around and attacked the folks in the audience. And he had some nasty choice words to say. NAACP would like to avoid such an event happening. Even if you ask him a nice question, it turns into a nasty answer. And I think that NAACP, who has several lawsuits against the man, does not want the man standing in the room so that anything could jeopardize those particular lawsuits. And so, Stephen A. Smith, I totally disagree with you once again. Now, I do agree that we need to examine every department in the government to see how it is disadvantaging black people, even though we know the key word to that is what we call white supremacy. Now, Stephen A. Smith, in another episode of his wonderful show, went off. You know, I urge y'all to go look at his show before after you hear what I have to say about that. In that show, he said that Mamdani is the wrong move for the Democratic Party because he's just going to give away the stock house. He's giving away everything free. Stephen A. Smith says, well, we're in debt, we're going to be more and more in debt, we're just going to be in more debt. And guess what the big, beautiful bill that you talk about on that same show is about to do? It's about to double the debt that took us, 200 plus years of this country's existence to even get to where it is now? This guy is about to triple that debt. And then you're putting $1 trillion in the military. I'm sure you love that. Well, the military needs everything it can get so it can shoot people. You also made the statement that people just don't work hard enough. You live in New York City, or you're from New York City. I don't know if you still live in New York City or not. New York City, rent is $4,000. The average salary there is $28.37. Even at that salary, $4,000 a month, you're not going to be able to handle that. $4,500 a month, $4,500 a month, and your rent is $4,000 a month. What do you live off of? So your whole idea is that people are basically working 80 hours a week so they can have a roof over their head, some food on the table, be able to pay all their bills. You're asking somebody to work 80 hours a week without any services. Now, New York is a big place. What if we can do something to save money in people's pocket? And yes, you're right about the money part, because I want y'all to, again, watch the video to understand that maybe Mamdani should say, yeah, we're going to get how we're going to pay for these things. I believe he did say that, but you wouldn't know because you are just spitting off at the mouth. Sometimes you say some intelligent stuff. Sometimes you say some great stuff. Sometimes you're off the mark, Stephen A. I ain't going to tell you to stick to sports. I'm not going to tell you to stick to sports. You have a right to say what you have to say. As a black man, you have the right to say what you say. But on the NAACP thing, you are way off the mark. He should not appear there at all. We had one other incident with that, and it didn't go well, but it did well for his white MAGA voters who wanted to vote for him even more. Right. Anyway, y'all, let's move on to Candice Owens.
Are you done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would
end up perhaps voting for him? He can't run again, obviously, but would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate, certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment, and I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening. But I just think that the picture of politics in America is going to look very differently because of his actions. So I don't know where to go from here. I really don't.
Okay, so I
this is not
normally
the
don't
candidate
play
I voted
anything by Candice Owens because I just totally disagree with her politics. This is the woman who said, as a black woman, sitting on these white conservative TV shows, that she's scared when she sees a black pilot on a plane. She doesn't know whether he's qualified or not. So you literally have made yourself a pariah. You say there's, black culture is inferior. You've made yourself a pariah in my eyes as far as anything goes. And here you are backpedaling on the president you voted for, and you say you're not ashamed of that. Okay, you're not ashamed, but all of a sudden you're ashamed that you convinced Americans to vote for the guy. What evidence you didn't have before that he wasn't going to do any of these things? This is the man who literally said that Haitians are eating dogs and cats as an excuse to deport people, or as a claim to deport people. Now, there's an injunction against him against the Haitians right now. This is a man who said he's going to let Israel destroy Gaza if they had to. He was going to support back Israel in a way that you didn't expect him to, right? Oh, no, you knew what he was standing for on Israel, but you decided, Candice Owens, that this was your guy. So now the backpedal, because you are an opportunist. You are the ultimate opportunist. I call Stephen A. an opportunist. It's not fair for me to put Stephen A. in the same category as you, Candice Owens. Because Candice Owens, you are a pariah. You are someone who is a detriment to the black culture. Stephen A. is a loudmouth who sometimes gets it wrong because he doesn't know much about it. He's even said that himself. He don't know much about politics. Fine. He has his point of view. As far as I'm concerned, he makes a lot of money in New York City. So yeah, he's worried about that taxation thing that Mamdani is talking about. And I'm sure you don't like Mamdani, but you said you're sorry you voted for him. But who were you going to vote for? I'm trying to figure this out. Who you going to vote for? The weed-smoking libertarian? You going to vote for Dr. Carnell West? The Green Party lady who can't even defend herself against the Democrats? I'm just saying, I'm asking a lot of questions here because what were you trying to say? What were you trying to say? And folks, since I'm here at the end, and I'm done with Candice Owens. I'm done. I mean, I was done with her months ago. Here she is backpedaling on her man. And the reason why she's backpedaling on her man, because the Republicans are done using her, like they do with all black people. Tim Scott, all those guys. You barely hear from them now. They don't exist in the Republican Party, almost. They sit in Congress. They have seats in Congress, but they do not exist in the Republican Party. When the voting time comes around, they might all of a sudden appear again, or they may have a new cast of character of black folks to try to get black folks to vote for the Conservative Party. Democrat black folks continuously are always there. Their voices are all over the place. Joy Reid, I showed you earlier. Yeah, even our more liberal voices. I ain't gonna say they're all liberal voices are there. Yeah, but when it comes to this kind of stuff, Candice Owens, you're out the door. Shapiro kicked you off his team. Shapiro's still sitting there talking about how bad black culture is. Right now, his culture's not looking too good with what's going on in Israel. I'm just saying. I'll say my piece. Say my piece about Candice Owens. Say my piece about everything that's going on in America right now. Now, I'm sure a lot of y'all are like, what is with this guy? Well, you can continue to watch and see what's with this guy because I'm right here every week spitting out the truth. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and y'all have a wonderful day.
You have been listening to Thought You're Awoke No Speed Limit Podcast.